Let's go watch it in 2D. No, let's go watch it in 3D. But if we watch it in 3D, then is it worth the cost?
I'm the king of Atlantis. 500 million people from every known species in the sea call this place home. But that doesn't mean they all like me.
I'm gonna kill Aquaman and destroy everything he holds dear. I'm gonna murder his family and burn his kingdom to ash.
He must be stopped, or a global meltdown is imminent.
I think I know someone I might be able to help us. Ooh, you look rough. Good job, little brother. High five.
Do not call me brother. I cannot believe you let this happen.
Yeah, well, I hate this job.
Hello. This is Adolf, and welcome to the 3D or 2D podcast. This is going to be the review for Aquaman 2, or aka Aquaman, and the Lost Kingdom. As always, I'll talk about the 3D aspect first. And in this review, I'll be doing the new style, so it's going to be a number score instead of great, good, or weak. So, the 3D here. One moment, the 3D is excellent. Next moment, it's garbage. It's like, okay. There's plenty of bright scenes, and there's a lot of scenes outdoors that work. And, there's a lot of fun and sci-fi, crazy action, kind of comic booky stuff. And the problem is, there's some stuff that is just kind of dark, which, okay, it's underwater. And some stuff that is a problem with the visual design of the movie itself. The cinematography here, I know James Wan has a style, and I usually like that style. But this style here for this movie, it's too busy. It's a mess. It's a visual mess, and it's really hard to keep track of what is going on the screen. Sometimes I'm just like, I'm lost. What is happening? Why am I watching this? And that's not good when you're watching a movie in 3D. So that is a problem with the movie that hurts the 3D too. And you're gonna have your typical kind of stuff you might imagine for a movie like this. So you're going to have some bubbles, you're going to have some stuff pointing out, you're going to have some fun scenes with depth and pop. And I just feel like it could be better. Like, they could have done more with depth, could have done more with the pop, but they did good. It just, maybe they ran out of money or something, and they're like, okay, we gotta, we only have X amount of money here. Don't put more depth in that shot more than it needs to. Or don't put more pop in that than it needs to. Just do what's needed, and that's good enough. That's fine. Look, it's not a bad conversion. I'd say it's a very, very good conversion. There's moments where it was fantastic. But it's all over the damn place, and it kind of averages out to be kind of, okay, very good experience. And I think if you see this in 3D at a good theater, I think you'll be very happy with it. But it definitely feels like you missed some potential here, where things could be a lot better. This definitely could be a really great presentation, and I feel like it could have been better, but it just, some of the design issues with the visuals is the problem. Not just the theater, it's just how they did things. Some camera angles could be better, some shots could be brighter. So, yeah, I guess for my final score, I'll give this a 7 out of 10 for the 3D aspect. Now on to the movie itself. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom seems like a movie that was rushed into existence because it really doesn't feel like a sequel. It feels like a crappy retread. One of those kind of sequel movies that you see that's like, oh, this is not really a sequel. It doesn't really advance the story or continue the story. It just retells the previous story in a different way. That's exactly what Aquaman 2 is. Lost Kingdom basically is a retreading of the original Aquaman movie, which, hey, I actually liked. So, okay, cool. But the differences here make it worse. This is a worse version of this. Now, if you haven't seen the original Aquaman movie in a couple years, you probably should do yourself a favor and do a recap video on YouTube because it a lot of it's not. This movie is not a self-contained movie. It's not. It simply isn't, and you really will be lost if you don't have that. So, I mean, they try to recap some stuff for you and retell you some things that happen, but it really is up to the viewer to remember what happened in the first movie because you're going to be lost. And if you're wondering, does this connect with the other DC movies? Nope, not at all. So there's no mention of the Flash, no mention of Shazam, Fury the Gods, or the Blue Beetle. So I know we're in the reset time for DC soon, so there's nothing there connecting it. It could, I guess, if this is a big enough success, they could, in theory, make Aquaman 3. Not that I would want that, but if it's not a success, there's no dangling threads. There's no breadcrumbs that leads to other movies or anything like that. It's just Aquaman 2. If you liked Aquaman 1, you'll know what Aquaman 2 is because it's the same movie, just really a mess of a second movie. So, I watched this movie last night. And I am struggling to remember what I saw in this movie, what the plot was, what the threads were. And I am so sick and tired of Jason Momoa. I did not know that. I thought he was fine in the first movie, and I liked him in Justice League and such. And now, this whole thing that Jason Momoa does, where he's a drunk, dumb frat boy. Oh yeah, haha. I'm just tired of it. I'm just so damn tired of it. It's grating to watch him. He hasn't grown up at all. No character development, nothing. He's just that bratty kind of, drunk frat boy kind of. It's just not good anymore. It sucks. And it just doesn't work. It really feels like, really? You're still this way? Things haven't improved? You're now the king of Atlantis, and you're now a father, and you're still acting like this, 22-year-old college kid? Come on, guys. Come on. Maybe Justin Momoa just doesn't have any acting abilities, because this is bad. And it didn't bother me before. Now it does. Now I feel like the stick doesn't work. It stinks. And the story here, basically the same thing, where Black Manta wants to get revenge for Aquaman killing his father, which happened again in the first movie. Now Black Manta has found an evil, ancient evil, that has helps him build more weapons, and, it's in slumber, but if he wakes it up, it's going to give him the power to kill Aquaman. So, Black Manta wants to waken up this evil. It's just all cliche and tried and uninteresting, and I've seen this kind of movie 1,000 times before. It's not that great. The narrative is so disjointed. It doesn't feel like actual movie. It feels like a bunch of skits that were tied together. It doesn't feel very cohesive at all. Aquaman must find his brother, the Ocean Master, to help him fight Black Manta, and it comes like a buddy globe-tropping movie. Which, if you remember the first one, hey, wasn't that the same thing? Basically, Aquaman with Buddy, before that it was Mira, and they were looking around the world for stuff, and now they're looking around different parts of the world now for other stuff. It's the same kind of thing, and it's just kind of, okay, going to exotic locations, yay! Alright, Black Manta wants to kill Aquaman, same thing. Environmentalism, very core concept of this movie. Yes, it's in this one too. It just feels like a crappy clone of the first one, and just not as good in many aspects. It just feels like a retread, and it just is not that good of a retread. And the dialogue here, I can't stand this dialogue between him and his brother. It's so cringe, and Patrick Wilson it's so wooden, and all of the characters are wooden. The plot itself is really paper thin, but I was still getting myself lost because this is train wreck of a movie here. It's just such a bad script to listen to. It's just the dialogue is god awful, and it's just like, okay, why are you going there to get what thing to do what now? I don't care anymore. Whatever. It's just so clumsy. It's just so crappily done. I have so many unresolved questions. Some characters, why are you not in this scene? Why are you in this scene? It doesn't make any kind of sense. And the comedy is cringe, and it's ridiculous at points. It kind of feels like a campy, silly, retro 1950s era sci-fi epic. And I like that kind of movie. It just felt corny here. The giant ship with these knobs. And it's like, what are you doing, movie? What are you doing? But at the end of the day, look, after all these flaws, I still found some enjoyment. I still found it fun. The adventure sequences are interesting. And the action, when it's coherent, it's fun. A lot of times the action was like, what the hell is going on? What am I looking at? Why is this connecting to this? Who are these people? I don't know these people. But, the plot is basic and the characters are annoying to listen to. Their banter feels like Marvel, but, the whole Marvel wit kind of thing, the Marvel quips, but a much, much, much worse version of that. So, yeah, terrible writing, terrible dialogue. A story that is really hard to pay attention to because it's so cliche and stupid and basic. Ugh. This is a bad misfire of a movie. Jason Momoa needs to step up his acting game because this frat boy drunk act ain't working for him anymore. This shitty-ass movie isn't worth wasting my time to make a proper fish pun. I thought about this for a long time for this review. I was like, I'm going to make a really good fish pun, some ocean puns. Those are going to be fun. And it's like, this movie is not worth the time to try to push that in there, to try to, jam that in there. It's not worth it. This is easily one of the worst movies of 2023. Aquaman The Lost Kingdom is something you should just avoid. It just sucks. It stinks. It stinks like dead fish. And it feels like a retread, but worse. Just watch the first movie. Don't need to watch this at all. Final score. I was debating this for a long time. I slept on it. I thought about it. As more as I started thinking about this movie, more I started writing about this movie, more I started doing this podcast, the more I hate this movie. More I never want to see this movie again. And there's a lot of bad movies in 2023. A lot of bad superhero movies. And this is the worst. This is a 3 out of 10 for my final movie score. This sucks. Don't watch this movie. And I came in with lower expectations. I wasn't expecting it to be awesome. At first I was like, maybe it's a 6, maybe it's a 5. And just more I started thinking about it, more I don't like it. It just doesn't work. This movie does not work. It's bad. I do not recommend it. That's it for me. Bye.
You can find 3D or 2D on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, and more. Just look for 3D or 2D. Links are in the info box. If you want to send us listener mail, our email address is email3dortwood@gmail.com. Thank you for either listening or watching this podcast. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.